Namaskaram and good morning. Welcome to day 2 of the 6th edition of the Vedic Wisdom Festival. Without wasting too much time, let me get straight to the crux of the matter. Freedom in relationships is what Swamini Brahmaprajnananda is going to talk to us today. Swamini is a direct student of Pujya Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji and a student of Swami Brahmavidananda ji. After completing her 3-year intensive course at Coimbatore and Rishikesh, she has dedicated her life to serving the Vedic tradition by sharing the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. She has written a book called You Matter, Insights from Vedanta. It's a lovely book. It's a very easy to read book. It's on paperback and it's available on Amazon. Please go ahead and buy it. She runs her own podcast called Vedanta, a River of Wisdom. She also runs classes for students in India and abroad. She has her own website called www.discoveratma.com, where you will find all her various activities captured and chronicled, including her podcasts, etc. And of course, she's a trustee of Arsha Vidya Foundation, works very closely with Swami Brahmavidananda ji, and she is also the co-creator of the Vedic Wisdom Festival. I have known Swamini now for quite some time, and the last couple of years I've been working pretty closely with her for the Gurukulam. She's been involved in many meetings for the Gurukulam, and she's actively involved in constructing that as well. So one of the things that struck me about her was her eye for detail. While all of us will be busy looking, at a lot of things, she will come up with those 1 or 2 key points that will make a world of difference to the whole plan that we're putting together. And that's something I've noticed about you, Swamini, and I thought it was important for me to say that your eye for detail always adds that extra bit. I guess it's her heightened sense of awareness that brings that to the picture. So thank you so much, Swamini, for guiding us. And Swamini Brahmaprajnananda on freedom in relationships. Welcome.
Thank you, Suresh. We start with a prayer. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We seek the grace of the Guru Shishya Parampara to bless us today and every day in all our pursuits. So the topic is freedom in relationships. Life involves relating. One cannot avoid it. You take a regular day, perhaps today, from the time the alarm wakes up, either via the birds or your own internal clock or your phone, you are relating to an object. Perhaps you are speaking to a family member. If it's a weekday, you are talking to your colleagues, either by phone, by text, by email. You might be a part of online community, WhatsApp groups, family group, extended family group, family, friends, and more group. So we are relating all the time to the other person, object, situation, and also to ourselves in the context of the way we talk to ourselves. And as we relate, we go through a roller coaster of emotions. So perhaps enthusiasm as you wake up, satisfaction at a good idli dosa breakfast, anger at the traffic, overwhelm at work, joy with sharing a joke with colleagues, helplessness while hearing about a cancer diagnosis, regret that you could not spend enough time with that person, hurt that the person accused you of doing something that you obviously did not do, and guilt that you didn't do enough. And so, in the process of living, we start to feel heavy. We feel stuck sometimes, and we can feel bound. And emotions are natural, part of the order. If we were to just feel the emotion, it just passes through us, we're free of it, no problem. But generally, what happens is emotion builds up, it lingers, there are thought patterns which are on loop, and that is because we don't have clarity about our thoughts. And so, the way we can feel stuck in our relationships is very nicely illustrated by Dronacharya and his friend Drupada. So Dronacharya and his childhood friend Drupada, they grew up in the Gurukulam together. It was a great friendship, but it spiraled into something very negative later. So as some of you all know, Drona was the son of sage Bharadwaja, and he and Drupada were growing up in the Gurukulam. Both were best friends. Once Drupada commits to Drona, when I grow up and become a really big king, I will give you half my wealth and my kingdom. And then, of course, they grow up, graduate, go their separate ways. Drona is committed to knowledge and he remains a poor Brahmin, whereas Drupada goes on to establish a big kingdom. Drona is running his Gurukulam, has a son, Ashwathama, who is growing up with the children of the Gurukulam. Once, Drona's son, Ashwathama, is playing with his friends. His friends are drinking milk. And Ashwathama somehow has never drunk milk. So, to play a prank on him, his friends mix rice flour with water and give it to him. And Ashwathama can't believe that milk tastes so delicious. His friends are all laughing, and he is saying, "Wow, this is wonderful." Drona sees this. He can't take it. He is so ashamed that he cannot provide for his own son because of his own poverty. So he remembers Drupada's promise. He goes to Drupada's palace in hopes that Drupada will remember something of what he said in childhood. But Drupada, instead of graciously receiving his childhood friend, insults Drona. He says, friendship is between equals. How can a beggar like you be my friend? This outrages Drona and he wants revenge. Drona was then grooming Arjuna to become the best archer of the land. And he decides, I'm only going to teach the children of the kingdom, rich princes. And so when Arjuna and his brother's studies are complete as Dakshina, Drona says, I want you to fight Drupada in battle, but don't kill him, just bring him alive to me. And of course, Arjuna does very well in the battle. He makes Drupada kneel in front of Drona. So Drona is satisfied that he has humiliated Drupada enough and takes away half his kingdom. Drupada now is seething with rage and revenge. He knows he can't fight Arjuna or the others. And so he performs a yajna just for the purpose of having a son, training him so that that person may eventually kill Drona. So Draupadi is born, and of course, Drishtadyumna is also born. And later, as we all know, in the Mahabharata war, Drona ends up killing Drupada, his childhood friend. He laments also, I had to kill my childhood friend. And Drishtadyumna, Drupada's son, ends up killing Drona. Of course, Ashwathama, Drona's son, also gets killed. So what I want to highlight is that what started out as a really good friendship spiraled into something so negative, almost death, because of build-up of emotion, revenge, insult, humiliation, and so on. And we may not be free from our reactions. And that's why I say we are bound if we are not free from our reactions. Like Drona and Drupada, we feel bound by our identities. Like them, sometimes we feel bound and consumed by our emotions and by our thoughts. We feel we must act on our raga and dveshas. So, whatever are our cravings and aversions, Drona felt bound to Hastinapura, although he knew that Duryodhana was wrong. He was the chief acharya of the palace and he had promised to serve. And so sometimes we can feel bound by our situations. Now, the thing about bondage is if it was real, we could never be free of it. But it's not, and of course, one can be free of it. And at the same time, if bondage feels right, then we will not struggle against it. So, on the other hand, we look at Sudama and Krishna's friendship, and we see a certain freedom in their relationship. So, again, both Sudama and Krishna grew up in a Gurukulam in Sandipani, which is in Ujjain. Of course, the structure is no longer there, but it's a lovely place. If you all can visit, please visit. It has a lovely presence about it. So both Sudama and Krishna were great friends. And after graduating, they went their separate ways. Then Sudama gets married, has many children, is poor. Krishna goes on to become the king of Dwarka. Sudama has many children and he lives in poverty. He's quite sad about it. His children are starving. So once Sudama's wife tells him, why don't you go and visit that childhood friend of yours, Krishna? Maybe he can help us. As adults, we can manage our hunger, but it breaks my heart that our children have to sleep hungry at night. So Sudama says, okay, yeah, I'll go, but what shall I take for him as a gift? So as a part of the culture, whenever you meet a king or somebody senior or an elder or even a sadhu, you never go empty-handed. So Sudama's wife says, well, I just have about 4 handfuls of poha, parched beaten rice. So maybe you can just take that. So Sudama packs that up, goes to Dwarka, enters the palace of Krishna. And Bhagwan Krishna is seated with his favorite queen, Rukmini. He's overjoyed at seeing his old friend. And according to custom, he does Pada Puja, washes his feet, offers him refreshments. Rukmini herself fans him. And Krishna and Sudama are chatting away about childhood days. They are so happy in friendship to be together. Then Krishna asks him, have you bought something for me? And Sudama is very embarrassed because here is such opulence in the palace, and he has bought something very meager. So he didn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. And Krishna then just says, whatever you have brought, it's my favorite. And he just takes it and he swallows one morsel. And he swallows another one. And then Rukmini stops him from having any more. Then Sudama spends the night in the palace. He's so overjoyed being with his friend. At the same time, he feels so small, he doesn't ask him for anything. And then he heads out, he goes back home. When he reaches his village, he finds that his humble hut has been transformed into like a 7-storied palace. It's filled with beautiful gardens and parks. It looks like Swarga. His wife looks like Lakshmi. She is also dressed up very ornately with a lot of jewelry, beautiful silks, and so on. And there's a lot of wealth in the home. So they are all very happy. So we see that in the first situation of Drona and Drupada, they became so consumed by their raga dveshas, which led to adharma. In the second situation, Sudama felt bound by his situation and circumstances. He sought help in his friendship, which gave him a lot of joy and happiness and eventually freedom. So, when we look at our relationships, we have both a need for connection and a need for freedom. We may feel bound because our thoughts, emotions, and situations constrain us. If only my partner would change, if only my child would listen to me, if only I didn't have this illness. And then we add, but after many, many sentences. So, this is our subjective way of looking at the world, what we might call pratibhasika satyam. It's our version of the reality. There is an abhasa, there is an appearance. It appears to be so. Uh, simple translation would be subjective reality, pratibhasika satyam. So it's my version of whatever I experience in terms of the functional reality, which includes my thoughts and emotions. Now, thoughts and emotions are great. That's how we function. They are our glory. Now, when does it become subjective? When my interpretation of reality is not in keeping with the functional reality, which is pretty much data common to all of us. So, the regrets that we hold and almost keep it uh, in the showcase of our mind, the guilt, the sadness, the anger that we hold on for years and years, some of them 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, like some antique piece. That is our subjective reality. And I could be stuck in different kinds of spirals. When scientists have researched what are the kind of thoughts that we think, 90% of the thoughts we think every day are similar thoughts. There's hardly any originality or innovation. The same old stuff. We just regurgitate and we're not cows, but we do that very well. So as long as we hold on to these spirals, we will feel stuck and we will want to get out. We want to be free from all of this because it makes us miserable. So then what shall we do? Well, Pujya Swamiji would often say when couples fight or anybody has an argument, just add, in my view, in my perspective, as a prefix to whatever else you are saying. And it's just so obvious that it's only in my perspective that this is how I see the situation. Your perspective might be different, and we can discuss to see what is really the functional reality. So, to be free from this, I have to align pratibhasika satyam, that is my version of the reality or whatever subjective, to vyavaharika satyam. Vyavaharika based on vyavahara. Vyavahara is not transaction, vyavahara is interaction. So vyavaharika satyam is functional reality, is the world that we experience, the world of sight, sounds, taste, fragrances, and so on. And then, so how do I align this subjective reality to functional reality? Well, when I open my eyes and then I look around the world, I find the world is not random, it's not haphazard. Uh, it functions according to certain laws of nature. And most importantly, the law of karma, which is only understood through the Vedic tradition. So Vyavaharika Satyam says that all the people in your life, all the situations, good, bad, ugly, they are there because of the choices we made in this life or previous lives. So the choices made in the past is what I am experiencing as my destiny in this present moment. And my choices in the present moment will determine my destiny. So suppose if I experience the people in my life as pleasant, supportive, encouraging, then it's likely that the punya of my karma has fructified as sukha, experiences of happiness in my life. Suppose the people in my life, the situations are such that they are unpleasant, unsupportive, uh, people are discouraging, then it is likely that papa of my karma has fructified and I am experiencing it as dukkha, sorrow in my life. So one of you will say, but I have both happiness and sorrow in my life. So I would say, congratulations. We are all Mishra, we are all products of Mishra karma. So there is adequate punya papa in one's life. And that's great. So it's also possible that I may be a reason that someone else has to seek therapy because they have experienced dukkha because of me. So, as we understand this karma framework, Vyavaharika Satyam, I am in touch with functional reality that one, I cannot escape the people in my life. Why? Because they are solidified versions of punya and papa in my life. So now I have to find a way to deal with them. Then the question is, what shall we do? They did invite me to the Diwali party. Should I invite them for my son's engagement? Question. So now, to relate to each other, to figure out what is the right thing to do, we need some norms that are not subjective but universal. We need some norms that feel instinctive to us. And the good news is that these norms are known to us. So, both like Drona and Drupada, we do not want to be insulted. We want to be respected. We want to be accepted. We want the best for our families. I don't want to be hurt. You don't want to be hurt. So, these norms of acceptance, daya, kindness, ahimsa, satyam, truthfulness, victory of the underdog, they all feel very natural to us because it is the voice of dharma in all our hearts. So this young corporate professional was telling me, who was laid off his IT job, and he came home in the evening with all his stuff. He was talking to his wife, very angry and upset, and telling his wife, I gave this company 10 years of my life. And they did not even give me a chance to send a goodbye email also. So he had tears in his eyes. And his 3-year-old son, who was playing nearby, goes up to him and says, don't cry, Papa. I am there. Be strong. Now, the boy has understood that when someone is feeling sad, the other offers love and support. Did this 3-year-old boy learn about Samanya Dharma from Dharma Shastra? The boy can barely read. The voice of Dharma beats in every person's heart. You take our recent World Cup, Cricket World Cup. For the first 10 matches in which India won brilliantly, we all applauded their hard work, their discipline, their commitment to excellence. And the reason we were happy is because dharma was upheld. We may not think in those terms, but that's really what is happening. And then in the dressing room, when we saw the Prime Minister appreciating their performance and offering encouragement, we also felt encouraged from whatever failures we had experienced, right? So when we really look at it, what you admire about a person or a given situation is a tiny subset of dharma, which is the universal framework of values. Of course, dharma has many other meanings. Right now, I'm focusing on this one. And so, if you say Virat Kohli, then okay, commitment to excellence. Steve Jobs, innovation, talent. Puja Swami Dayananji, wisdom. We admire all these different people because they embody some aspect of dharma, and that quality delights us, we appreciate it. Dharma makes us happy. And so when we uphold dharma in our given situation, we do the right thing, we are happy. So although I may be consumed by my pratibhasika satya, my subjective reality, I'm so angry I was not invited for the Diwali party. But still, I can extend my hand in friendship and invite a particular relative for my son's engagement. I feel I have done the right thing as I am in harmony with Dharma. And so we can feel more free when we live in Vyavaharika Satyam, which is functional reality. How? By aligning with Dharma and performing our roles with Dharma. So I have a quick slide which I want to show. So imagine yourself, or rather visualize yourself as a tree. You have the voice of Dharma in your heart, and your roots are spread all over. They offer stability to you, they make you rooted. And what you are rooted to are the core values that you stand for. This could be different for different people, but basic values in terms of ahimsa, kindness, achievement, a value for wealth, a value for aesthetic beauty, etc., etc. And as you keep moving in life, the way your branches grow is really your karma. So your karma that comes from you, that you have a freedom to perform because of the Shaktis that have been given to you. They are all acts of dharma, maybe a dharma also. And then as these leaves, branches grow, they also offer you karma phala. So fruits of your different actions, and then you connect with different people and so on. So then the question is, how do I relate to different people? Because we're not handed a script when we are born. This is how you should be as a mother, this is how you should be as a colleague. We don't know. And for those who work in the corporate sector, when you look at your job description, you realize you do far more than what that JD is. Correct? So, how does one figure out what is the script for the different relationships that we all have? And actually, if you're rooted in the Vedic tradition, it's really straightforward. The script is the one of dharma. And how this works is that you stand for these different values. And all these values, they flow into your different actions. So whether you are focusing on your work in the community or your family members, because respect, appreciation, acceptance, discipline, generosity, they are all core values that belong to you. Then naturally, you're not going to be selective. It's going to flow in your karma with your family members. It need not be like, okay, I keep the best for work, and then when I come home, I only have crumbs to offer. Sometimes, some of us might be like that, especially in our 20s and 30s. We're so exhausted that you have only crumbs of attention and affection to give the people who matter the most to you. So that's not quite dharmic. But the good thing is that we can always align to our center, which is dharma. And so the more and more rooted we are in this, because it makes us happy, all areas of my life have far more balance. I am dharma centered, and therefore my work, my family, the state of my finances, how I am in my extended family, my relatives, my interactions with everyone, they all are rooted in dharma because it makes me happy. And then when we are looking at what the script of dharma is, we understand a few things in the context of living in Vyavaharika Satyam, that is functional reality. One is that we have at least a minimum of 5 to 6 relationships that we didn't quite choose in this lifetime. So, our parents, and then siblings, so brother, sister, and then by extension, you are the son or the granddaughter. Then whoever you marry, which is seemingly choice based. So, partner, child, colleagues, and so on. And the good thing is that each role is relative. So, the problems of one role need not affect the other. Like one person said, "Oh, my life is devastated." I said, "What happened?" "Oh, I had a breakup with my girlfriend." "Okay. How about your relations with your parents?" "No, no, that is okay." "How about your relationship with friends?" "Ah, that's also okay. They are very supportive of me." How's work going?" "Ah, work is also okay. I can't complain." How can you say your life is devastated? One relationship cannot be your life. If it is, you need to come back to Vyavaharika Satya, functional reality. So we are related to so many people, and every relationship has a goal. Anytime you are frustrated by any relationship, it's worth thinking about what is the goal. And the larger theme of any relationship, and also mind you, modern society has become such that the moment I utter the word relationship, people only think romantic. And I'm going back to the beginning. Relationships means we are relating to so many people, including objects, our mobile phones. Okay. So relationships, whether it is with your colleagues or with your children or with your in-laws, the larger theme is that you offer care, support, and some contribution to the other's happiness and growth. And as long as there is more or less reciprocity there, the relationship is fantastic. But if you expect that your partner is a lover, teacher, guide, uh, friend, best friend, and 3 a.m. buddy, and baby, and all of that, then you are expecting moksha from your relationship. So it's good to align again with Vyavaharika Satyam that this person is on his or her spiritual journey just like me. And we have come together to support each other, to love each other, to care for each other, and contribute to each other's happiness and growth. This lifetime, we happen to be together because of Rina Anubandha, We have a debt we are carrying forward from our previous lifetimes. And there is something to be given and received because of the strong momentum of past karma, and that's it. There's no guarantee you're going to meet the other person in the next lifetime. And so we make the most of it. So then, how can I be a lot more free of my reactions? I bring in karma yoga into my life. So I understand that karmani eva adhikaraha. I have choice only with respect to my karma regarding different roles, and I do my best. Uh, when I perform my responsibility, so as a partner, when I do that, the other person's right to receive care, support, love is met, and vice versa. And another important thing is that no role is perfect, no role is ideal. We can get into this trap of, I'm going to be the ideal partner and the ideal husband and the ideal child and so on. There is no such creature that exists in this world. Um, so, sorry, a little more about Karma Yoga. Uh, I'm guessing most people are familiar, but when I'm aligned to Vyavaharika Satyam, that is functional reality, what can I do in my different relationships? I bring the best of myself to all these different relations, and I focus on my Kaushalam. So, Kaushalam is my karma aligned with dharma. I do my best, and I learn to graciously accept people and situations as prasada. So, I have samatvam also. Uh, with respect to these different people in my life, because understand they are all the choices you have only made. Okay, so all the people in your life are given to you as prasada. So of course you can figure out, from extreme reaction you can learn to love and accept and support all these people, understanding their background. Um, then it's not just people that we are relating to. Our Vedic tradition teaches us that Panchava ete mahayajna satati pratayante satati santishtante. So our debt is a sacred one, and this is to be done every day. How much, how often, what is up to you. The offerings that you make to devatas, there are 5 sets of offerings that we are to make, and this is related to the rinam we have and the sambandha we have. So rinam as in a sacred debt. Devatas have been giving and giving and giving and continue to give us as we speak. Vayu Devata is moving, and that's why we are able to hear sound. We are not speaking in a vacuum. So Devatas who are presiding over different phenomena, we are related to them, and so we acknowledge their presence in our lives. We make some offerings to devatas. In addition to them, our ancestors, the genes, GENES, and maybe the JEANS that we might have inherited, is all thanks to our ancestors, our pitras. So many family traditions, ways of living, and so on, we have inherited as a legacy from them. And so, how might I acknowledge and honor them every day, and maybe certain special days of the year, Shraddha Karma, and so on, Pitru Paksha? Then, besides them, I also continue to be related to acharyas, to rishis, to gurus. If you chant any mantra, if you do any yogasana, if you are learn anything of the Shastra, including Vedanta, you are linked to the rishi, whether you know it or not. And the rishis and the gurus and the acharyas have kept the tradition going, and therefore we do something every day to honor their presence and also take whatever we have learned forward. Then the different people in our life. besides family, who might be a part of our community, neighborhood, and so on. So we, from the farmer to the different vendors, the different services that we use just, and we kind of take it for granted. And we also have a sense of entitlement that, I paid for it and yeah, that's, I'm entitled to it. Well, just to keep you alive, there are so many people in the food chain and so many other chains that are working very hard. And, uh, so we honor them, we do something for them. And then, of course, plants and animals, our environment, we again see that there is a really deep interdependence, and we do what we can for all these relationships. So, waking up to reality, to functional reality, is waking up to the fact that dharma makes me happy, and I have all these relationships that I have to acknowledge and honor. So please don't be daunted by it. It's something that we see that we are connected to, and we do what we can because, it's always a dynamic balance. Dharma makes us happy. And when we are happy, we are naturally loving. So, Karma Yoga is possible only when I see that I am a devotee, I am a bhakta, basically a loving person who recognizes that all these laws of nature, including karma, are pervaded by Bhagavan. The intelligence in the way in which these laws function and the material of all that I am interacting with, all the way it is Bhagavan. So I'm assuming some people have exposure to Vedanta. And therefore, I am not a stressed out, ordinary person anymore. I am now ever connected. And I'm not talking about Wi Fi, okay? I am ever connected to Bhagwan in the context of the form. I'm connected to all these relations that I have. And because of the Shaktis that have been given to me, I can be rooted in Dharma and function. And the beauty of relating to all these different roles that I have is that I can pick up one role and I can also drop it. So somebody comes to me and wants to introduce her 3-year-old child to me, and that person says, says, okay, namaste, Swamini. So this is my chunnu, okay, 3-year-old chunnu. And she said, chunnu, see, do namaste to Swamini, etc. And in that moment, there is something magical that happens which we don't fully realize. So here is this lady who is relating to me. So I happen to be her teacher. And then she is relating to her daughter, Chunnu. So when she is relating to Chunnu, she is, of course, doing, oh, my dear Chunnu, and so on. Okay, so she's doing all the baby talk. She's not doing the baby talk with me. So here she's like, okay, Swamini, namaste, etc. She doesn't forget, she doesn't get confused. So when she's relating to Chunu, she is her mother. When she is relating to me, she is the student. And in a fraction of a second, she has dropped the role of being Chunu's mother and happened, and in that fraction of a second, she is the student. And then as she turns to Chunu, she is Chunu's mother. So, what is happening here is quite magical because it is bringing to awareness something that I can pick up and drop the role, which means I am always more than the role. In fact, I am free of every role. The role is me, and I perform all my roles by being rooted in dharma. But as I relate to different people, the I does not undergo any change. So the simple person, I, happens to always be there. There is a partial change in, let's say, me as a mother or me as a student, but it does not leave any trace on I. And so, because of this extraordinary capacity, I can take on a role, I can drop it. And this, I call it a capacity, but it's much more than that. That I can undergo change without intrinsically undergoing change. So, what I really am is consciousness awareness, which is to be discovered, by systematically studying Vedanta. And a simple person is always connected to everyone who is a devotee, I said. And so, as a devotee, that person is never stressed out because that person is a loving person and I'll do what I can in all my relations. But what is it that fills up the role is the person, and that person is really speaking consciousness that is unchanging. So the love that we feel for a lot of other people is really an expression of ananda that I am. One person who was talking about his the first love of his life, very nicely mentioned that, when I fell in love, I felt like I was Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman all rolled into one. And here is this fellow who's like a kakri. He's like a really thin fellow. And he is just strutting about, feels like he has won over the world and is so supremely confident and feels like I can do anything. Now, logically, it doesn't make sense because 1 out of 7 billion people on this planet happens to love this guy. But he feels completely accepted. In fact, the subject he and the object that he was trying to meet, he feels fused with the object of affection, and there is an experience of oneness. So then, when we are looking at what is all this functional reality made up of, what is all this vyavaharika satyam, we are led to discovering what paramarthika satyam is, what the absolute reality is. And in one section of Taittiriya Upanishad, some of you all might have attended last evening's talk. So may you know that Ananda, fullness, is Brahman. Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat Anandadhyeva Kalvimani Bhutani Jayante Anandena Jatani Jivanti Anandam Prayantyabhisamvishanti Saisha Bhargavi Varudi Vidya Parame Vyoman Pratisthita. Very beautiful section of Taittiriya where this son and father are speaking, and the father tells that, so may you know that Brahman is Ananda, and that Ananda, from that Ananda, all this world of names and forms has come. So your people, your relations, your situations, this body mind that you happen to have, all of that has come from fullness, that which is limitless, that which has no boundaries. And it is all sustained by Ananda, and everything resolves into Ananda. This is the Vidya. So we are no longer dealing with people, in the context of wanting to become free in relations. We are constantly interacting with laws of karma, which are pervaded by Ishvara Bhagavan, which is really Brahman, which is me. A lot more to be said about it, but I'm just sowing the seeds. So here, this Ananda, I'm not aiming to be Ananda because I already am that. So fullness, which is not a feeling, but the basis of all feelings. Ananda is not a situation, but the basis of all situations. It is not a relationship, but present in and through all relationships. And so, my journey of freedom in relationships is really that earlier I wanted to be free from relationships. I wanted to run away because they were such a headache and so on. I can't be in them. I can't live without them. What shall I do? Then I learned to be free in relationships by being rooted in dharma, by um, engaging with kaushalam, competence, with actions based on dharma, and learning to graciously accept people and situations as prasada. And then, as I continue to be free in relationships, I am now so free that I can relate to anyone and everyone. Relationships are not opposed to the reality or consciousness that I really am. And so, a few waves, they decide to go to the Vedic Wisdom Festival in Mumbai. They are all lapping away near the seashore at Juhu Beach, and they're wondering, well, what tips will I get? You know, and what we can quite understand is that I admit that in some contexts I might be subjective. And so the first step is to align. Well, first step is to admit that I might be subjective and I might be, there might be pratipasika satyam. When I admit that, then I am awake to functional reality and I try and align my understanding to functional reality, vyavaharika satyam, as I interact on the basis of dharma, law of karma, and so on with others. Then the waves that are lapping on the seashore, when pointed out to, that as you continue to be in this wave community, all along, you have always been water. And you've had your journey, you've had your roller coaster in the ocean, but what is unchanging about you is really your true nature, water, and you are free to relate to anyone and everyone. So I'll close by sharing what Ramana Maharshi replied when he was asked, how do you deal with the other? And he said, is there another? Om Tat Sat. I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Thank you, Swamini. Thank you so much for that, as usual, fascinating and lovely talk on freedom in relationship and the role of karma and how you make your own karma. Really, really interesting. I loved your tree. I loved the tree, the dharma. The diagrammatically it brought alive what you can do. It was really nice, and the branches as you grow up. I thought it was a fabulous way of explaining it. We've got one or two questions. Swamiji, Swamini, we're running slightly short on time, so I'll ask you those one or two questions, and then if we get more questions, I might ask you to answer them later. The first one I've got came early on in your talk, so I will ask it. It says, I've been inculcating through my life to share my understanding as an opinion. I guess this is a response to the fact that when you said that, say it as an opinion. But I'm realizing that when I'm visibly feminine, I'm not taken seriously unless I express it as my thought stroke conviction and not just my opinion. How can I be genuine and truthful at work without feeling that my experience won't be seen because I'm trying to make sense of from others' perspectives?
Yeah. See, we can make it a gender issue. We need not. Everyone has the right to express their view, and as a team member or a team leader, please express your view. Don't second guess or don't try to control others' views of what they will think when I express my view. So you can if you are hesitant to express your view, you can express. You can say, I'm hesitant to express my view. In the past, I felt that my views were not heard. So you may say this if it's appropriate. But you can also say that I have heard everyone's view about this matter. I want to share my views as well. And I trust that we will be able to come to a decision regarding this project, which will take the project and our company forward. So you are rooted in Dharma when you do this. Okay.
The other question, the second one, which also came during the course of your talk, was, I listen that one can change destiny by changing your karmas. Your every thought and action can change your life. I believe that changes happen only for the next life, or is it too soon to happen in the same life too?
If you have lunch or if you had breakfast today, did changes happen? There was hunger and you ate, and then your hunger was satiated. So we understand results, karma phala, to happen immediately. And then there are some which take time, like you've sown a seed, it will take maybe 2 years. It may flower in like 3 months. So there are visible results and there are invisible results, and we can't fully predict which invisible results or adrishta phala may fructify later. So all we can do is be prayerful and do our karma.
And 2 or 3 people have requested you the Acharya Maharishi's quote that you gave in the. You repeat that, they didn't quite catch it. So 2 or 3 people have written saying, can you repeat the quote?
Yes. So Ramana Maharshi was asked, how do you deal with the other? And he replied, is there another?
Thank you. Swamini, you've got many more questions. So we'll get the questions reached to you, and you can answer them on a one-on-one. Or we can take them when we have the Q&A closing remarks today. We have half an hour in the end. Yes, I think we'll do that. We'll take a lot of these questions. Many of these, I don't know, still coming in questions. So I don't know whether we'll be able to tackle all of them. But many of them, let's try and tackle in the half an hour that we have post the Vinay Varanasi segment in our Q&A. And the rest, of course, like we normally do, we can take. Thank you once again, Swamini, and see you back in an hour's time for the conversation. Thank you so much.